Greetings, everybody. This is your Digital Super Saiyan here, Digital Super Saiyan 3, back with another video. And, well, I finally had been waiting to get to this review. And it's based off of, well, since I'm wearing my Superman shirt again, Superman 2. Basically, this sequel leaves off where the first movie left off. Basically, the opening of this first movie, or of the second movie, of the opening sequence, basically gives us a recap of the first Superman, with General Zod and his cronies being sent into the Phantom Zone, Superman coming to Earth, Superman taking on Lex Luthor, and all that good stuff. Well, the second Superman outing starts off like this. Lois Lane gets sent to Paris to cover a situation where terrorists take hostages at the Eiffel Tower and have this bomb that they're going to set off. Luckily, Superman shows up after hearing word of this, and, well, he sends the bomb into outer space and the terrorists get captured. And as the bomb makes its way into outer space, it blows up the mirror-like prison that General Zod and his cronies are imprisoned in. So Zod and his cronies start heading towards the moon, where they come across astronauts and, well, Ursa, the female Kryptonian that was with them, begins to realize that she immediately was able to tear through the suit like paper, an astronaut suit like paper, until General Zod says that this atmosphere must have a yellow sun and we're getting incredible powers, so they automatically fly towards Earth. Meanwhile, Lois and Clark head to Niagara Falls to uncover some scam that involves this romantic getaway weekend that's supposed to be fraudulent towards young lovers. And while at Niagara Falls, Lois and Clark were at the falls, and there's this dumbass kid who is just messing around at Niagara Falls and until he falls off this balcony, and then Superman rescues him. Lois starts to realize that whenever Superman's around, Clark disappears, and then whenever Superman disappears, Clark disappears. Lois begins to place two and two together and realizes that Clark and Superman are the same person. And, well, Lois is 100% right. When we realize Clark basically exposes his secret identity to Lois. Lois figures this out when Clark reaches into a fire to grab his glasses and realize that his hand did not get burned. Because his hand did not get burned, it automatically makes him Superman. And, well, Lois learns the truth in this sequel to Superman 1. So, meanwhile, Lex Luthor and his idiot henchman Otis were in prison. And then they escaped. Well, Luthor escaped with Miss Tessmacher, while Otis stayed behind because they escaped in a hot air balloon, and because Otis was so overweight, yeah, you get the idea. So Luthor and Tessmacher headed to the Fortress of Solitude. I guess Superman did not believe in frickin' security with his whole Fortress of Solitude, since Lex Luthor was easily able to get into the Fortress of Solitude. Luthor learns that 3 Kryptonian criminals are on their way to Earth, and basically plans to meet with them, realizing he can use them to get revenge on Superman. Of course, Lex and Tessmacher leave the Fortress of Solitude before Lois and Superman could get there. Superman and Lois then get to the fortress, and, well, in this sequence, Superman gives up his powers we legitimately see Superman give up his powers. Holy crap! And basically meaning that he would be vulnerable as hell and be a weakling. That says it a lot. And of course, they go to this diner. This guy is starting trouble with Clark. Clark gets beaten up by this guy. Yeah, so it's not a good way to go with the start of this. But of course, Zod and his cronies are making trouble on Earth since they just get there. Non, who's the big buff Kryptonian enforcer for General Zod, starts using his powers as he starts learning to use heat vision because he was slow at developing them, unlike Ursa and Zod. So General Zod, Ursa, and Non then take over the White House. And of course, mass panic is in order, realizing that the human race needs Superman. As these three were able to take over the White House and take on the military just like that. Surrender was in order, and basically making the President of the United States bow to him, General Zod, well, he does say kneel before Zod, and yeah, there is the whole kneeling before Zod. Of course, in a way, Luthor manages to give them the idea, this is how we're going to draw out Superman, as he does meet with Zod. As Lex wants to be the ruler of Australia. And soon, they make their way to Metropolis. They arrive at the Daily Planet. Then Superman returns. How did he get his powers back? Well, was there like a reverse switch on the machine? But that's one of the things I question about this sequel. Like, how the hell did Superman get his powers back? Was there like a reverse thing on the machine that takes his powers? But then Superman gets into a fight with these guys, and during the fight, it's very, 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 it's very dated, to be honest. But then again, it was the early 1980s. This was 1981 that this film took place in. You know, it was 1981. So I get it. There is a reason why it looks dated now compared to movies like Man of Steel. But then again, it was 1981. But did they have to include frickin' product placement in this fight? Like, you see a truck full of cigarettes with the Marlboro. You have Marlboro cigarettes being shown in the being like shown on a truck while Superman is fighting Zod and his cronies. You also see a Coca-Cola sign during this whole thing while Superman's fighting them. Superman realizes he's outmatched, knowing that he can't fight them with the people of Metropolis. So Superman flies off. And pretty soon Zod and his cronies, take after Superman. Of course, this leads to round 2 in the Fortress of Solitude, where this time Superman is on a level playground. But of course, Superman does surrender because if he didn't, they would kill Lois, because Lois gets held hostage by these Kryptonians, or by Ursa and Non, who would threaten to break Lois in half if Superman did not release Zod from his wrestling hold. So Superman lets go of Zod, and of course, thanks to some strategy, Superman uses this machine, reverse engineers the machine, which drained him of his power, to basically drain Zod and his cronies. Zod and his cronies become powerless, then Superman knocks them over the edge off of this cliff, and we never see them again. Of course, knowing that Luthor planned to backstab him, Well, Luthor is taken back to jail, and of course, Superman and Lois Lane, or Clark and Lois, knowing that the relationship is going to be very complex. Of course, there is the mind erase kiss. Clark erases Lois's memory by kissing her, and then he goes back to the diner to get Lois orange juice and a hamburger, only to meet up with the same guy who beat him up before at the diner. This time, Clark gets the upper hand on the jerk-off who beat him up earlier on in the film. So, in a sense, Superman 2 basically has the same sort of tone that the first Superman had. It's goofy, it's action-packed, it's fun for the whole family. It's a fun film. So in the sense, I'm Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I'll see you next time for the 1999 Royal Rumble in January.